5-watt twin, turn it into 85-watt 65 model amp. I'm changing the transformers, redoing all the bias and all the caps. We've already got the transformers in, the filter choke. Right now I want to show all the changes we made to the tone circuit. Okay, this is a schematic, the original parts that were in the 135. Alright, first off, we changed the tone caps. This is the bass cap, the mid cap, and the treble cap. These, as you can see, this channel here has the old type blue caps. This is orange drops, which is what I prefer. This is a 0.1 600 volt, 0.047 600 volt, and this is a 250 picofarad for the treble.
Want to show them the components over here that were replaced?
Yeah, this is what come out. You know, as you can see, it's the same thing that was in this channel here. Alright, these are the cathode caps, which are these right here and here. Okay, these start leaking after 20-30 years, and this amp is probably 45 years old, so these blue caps are these here. That's what was changed. Alright, now we're going to change the caps in the phase inverter. As you can see, we've got a 330K, 330K. These are changed to 1 meg, each one of them. Alright.
1 meg resistors, right?
Yes. And this cap right here is your main input to the output section. This is your output tubes. 0.01 is what they changed the value of these two. The 65 model had a 0.001. So this was changed to 0.001 right here.
It's a pretty big cap for 0.001 microfarad, right?
0.001 is a small cap.
But that's pretty big for such a small value.
Right. But like I said, all these Sprague orange drops are bigger than normal. Like this 0.1 on like a Hot Rod DeVille or Deluxe, this cap would be this big, you know what I mean?
You like a little red,
yeah,
Panasonic.
Yeah. Back when they were making real amps, this is the size caps were. Okay. Now we're going to change these resistors here, going to the output section. They're 47K, 47K. One of them is 100K, changed 47K to 100K, 47K to 82K. Alright, that puts it in the 65 range, 65 model amp. And then you got these output caps, 0.1 at 600 volt, which is these two here. And you can see we put the Spragues in here too, the best caps available. And this is the power supply. These are your diodes. Changes all your AC coming out of the power transformer to your DC. As you can see, we put 6 new output diodes.
And the original only had 4 years.
The original only had 4. This right here.
That was the original.
Yeah. We put 6 in, which is what they had in the 65 model. We also changed. This had a balance control for the bias, and we changed that around to where it had 1 voltage coming right off of this diode right here. Came right here to this potentiometer, and it changed it to where all the outputs have the same voltage when you adjust this. That way you can actually adjust the bias instead of just the balance, which is adjusting the balance doesn't do any good if the balance is wrong, if the voltage is wrong. Okay, this amp also used a 2.7K 10-watt resistor instead of using a filter choke. Okay, so right here we took this cap out. This is what it looked like. Yeah, we took this out and we put a filter choke in, which looks like a transformer. That's basically what it is. It's right here, if you can see it. Yeah, that's it.
That's the filter choke, everybody.
Yeah, and that makes the tone so much better.
And you said there was 2 of those?
Yeah, there was 2 of these.
And both of them were replaced?
Yeah, the other one's right here. It ran part of the vibrato circuit. So all that stuff had been changed, and that puts this whole circuit back to the 65 era, and gives you a lot warmer sound, you know. All the stuff that they done to this amp, they meant to make the amp sound better, but they actually made it worse. They made it real brittle and harsh. And you take all these parts out and put the original 65 parts in, and it gets that good warm sound. And that and the new transformers, which without the transformers you couldn't do this mod, because this had a huge output transformer, 135 watt, and this is just a 85 watt that we replaced it with. So that had a whole lot to do with the tone. And this amp actually sounds as good as any twin I've ever heard, you know.
And you got the transformers from Mojo Tone.
Yeah, well, we don't want to give them all that credit, you know. Well, we can if you want to. You know, they're not paying us to do it. So, this vibrato has got a little part here that's got a diode and a resistor.
And it's covered up, it looks like.
It is covered up. It's got a light emitting diode in it. And it won't work, you know, unless it's covered up. When that light comes on, it activates this circuit.
Is it almost like a Vactrol in that sense?
Yeah, almost the same thing, yeah. But it's a little different than a Vactrol though, because this doesn't switch channels. Okay, you got three caps, that give you the frequency that this runs at. You're looking at this one, and this one. Okay, and they oscillate. That's the word I was looking for, oscillation. When this lights up, it starts oscillating, causes the circuit to oscillate. And over here is your intensity, which gives you the amount of signal that's oscillating. And right here is the speed, which gives you your speed, you know, that it's oscillating at. So this here works as kind of like a volume, you know, gives you more volume on your vibrato, and this here changes speed of your vibrato.
And speed is really the amount of frequency, or the amount of signal.
Changes the frequency. That's all it does.
That the caps let out. Like if it's higher, the vibrato will put out more.
If this thing is running too fast, you can change the value of one of these three caps and raise it up, and it'll slow down the speed. So you can go either way with that, slow it down or speed it up, you know. When these caps start getting weak, the speed will change on you, and sometimes it'll get out of spec to where it doesn't sound right. So that's how you fix it, you know. If the thing is running too fast, you raise the value of one of these or two of these, and if it's running too slow, then you drop it. And that's basically how the circuit works. This right here is that piece that's covered up here. You see this right here?
Yeah.
That's a light emitting diode. When voltage hits it, it lights up. When this thing is on, you can see light coming out the hole here.
And they had that technology back when they made this amp in the 70s?
Yeah, this is old technology.
Oh.
Yeah, it's old. They got a lot better system now for vibrato, you know. This here's noisy. Every time that comes on and goes off, you can hear it click. So you know, you got the tick, 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 tick. It's a ticking sound. And they got rid of that later on, you know, after they got different components that they didn't have in the 50s, you know. And they had better stuff that didn't make noise. But that's basically how that works, and everybody knows how reverb works. This 12AT7 tube number 3, the signal is blended from a clean signal, comes down from this channel here and goes into this tube, gets amplified, comes out here, and it drops. It goes through this step down transformer here, which is your transformer for the reverb. Comes over to your reverb tank, goes in it, and when time it gets to the other end, it's like a delay. It takes a long time to go around all the coils in that spring. There's 3 springs in there, and you know, they're wound and wound and wound. So time that signal gets to the end of it, you got a delay. Then it comes over here to this tube, which amplifies the output of the spring. Comes over here to this pot, which gives you the amount of reverb that is blended with the rest of the clean. See, it comes up here to the rest of the clean channel. So ever how much reverb you blend with the clean gives you more and more reverb, you know. That's how the reverb section works. And you've got a reverb pedal here, which all this does is ground this signal right here on the output of the tank. See? Reverb pedal just grounds that signal right there.
And then on the transformer, I guess you were saying that the brown wire was removed for this mod?
It wasn't even on this transformer here didn't even have this.
Oh, okay. But you had to still get rid of it and pull it out of the board,
I had to
right?
pull out all this stuff here. Every bit of these parts, because they didn't go in the 65 amp.
And what parts were this?
Well, these 100Ks, these 220s, all these parts here that came off these two parts here on the transformer.
The brown wires?
Yeah, every bit of this stuff had to come out of there, because none of that was on the old transformer. The 65 model transformer didn't even have this. It just had one wire, and it had a diode, which is this right here. See this wire here? That's all it had, was this wire right here. It didn't have two ground wires. And this just gave you the one voltage, where this gives you two voltages, where you had a balance. And this one here actually changed the bias because it only had one voltage. And that one voltage run to all four tubes. And you can see this here run up here, and it went to this tube and this tube. Now we're done. I'm going to turn this 135 watt twin reverb into an 85 watt 65 reissue. I'm going to change out the power transformer and the output transformer, add a filter choke, and rewire the tone circuitry to the 65 specs. And it's going to be a big job, but we're going to turn this into a vintage sounding amp anyway. We're going to get started here wiring up the power transformer. This is a Mojo Tone 85 watt reissue that they wound. It's supposed to be as close to the original specs as possible, and hopefully we'll start getting a better tone out of this thing.
So what's the first step here?
Well, I've wired in the 6.3 volt AC heater voltage. This runs to all the heaters of your tubes. And this is the input, primary for AC input. Wire it into the actual ground switch here. We're just taking the old transformer wires and replacing the new transformer where the old ones were. Pretty simple. Alrighty.
And we've got the solder on which component?
I'm just redoing the wiring. It's for the transformer, the input to the primary. Taking the old wires loose and putting the new ones in.
The primary is the wall voltage, right?
Exactly. 110 volts. 117 actually. But everybody calls it 110. There we go. Got our old ones loose. This is actually a pretty expensive undertaking here. Time you buy all the transformers and stuff, most people wouldn't do this mod, but if you're wanting that old vintage sound, this is the only way to get it. Start buying a 65 twin, you're going to be looking about $3 grand or better.
Yeah, Silverface, you know, 135 watt twin. What do you think that is? About 600 or 700?
Yeah, these actually are some of the least sought after because they really sound poor. They've got so much power, and the way the amp works, it doesn't sound that good for guitar. But we're going to change all that. Put some vintage tone into it. There we go. This is our high voltage line. Let's go into our bridge rectifier here and here.
You want to point out where the bridge rectifier is?
That's this right here. You got 4 diodes wired up to make a bridge. It turns all the AC into usable DC. You'll have about 500 volts there to run the power tubes. Okay. There we go. Well, that's the old wires that came off the old transformer. The end of the wires where I cut them.
Oh.
Here and here. It's actually going to this point right here and this point right here. I'm going to leave these new wires on. I'm going to hook them up right here so we'll get our high voltage be working. Alright. There we go. And make sure your solder connections are really good on this high voltage. It'll cause you some problems if you don't get a good solder connection. There we go. Now, we're going to have to take a look at the schematic and see our ground, which one's our ground and which one is our bias voltage. One of these will supply the minus 52 volts for the bias, and the other will be a ground. And since I don't remember which is which, we need to pull the schematic up here. Goes to the 470 1-watt resistor. The other end goes to the diode, which is right here. 471 watt was that right here. Now this resistor is a different value because of the bigger transformer that was in here, so we're going to have to change this resistor to the 470. Okay. Change that out. Put us a big heavy duty one in here.
Check her out real quick, what he's pulling out.
470 ohm, 2 watt instead of a 1 watt. We'll go a little heavier on everything. I always like to beef them up a little bit while I'm at it.
Sort of like headroom.
Yeah. Alright. Okie dokie. Got him out there. Side cutters here. Put him in place. Alright. Suck that solder out of there. This is called a solder pullet. I call it a solder sucker. Sucks the solder up off the board so you can get into places a little easier. Okay, we also need to put our bias wire into the same hole.
Tell us a little bit about the bias wire.
Okay, this supplies the minus 52 volts that your output tubes have to operate. You got a diode turned the opposite directions, how you get the minus voltage right here. If you wanted a positive voltage, this would be turned around the opposite way. The line would be on this end. But you have to have a negative supply there for this to run right. Alrighty.
I'm gonna get a close-up when you're done about.
Go ahead. Resistor with a 2-watt capacitance. This is actually 470. 470 ohms is for 170 ohms. That gives you your minus supply for your output tubes. Okay, and we got that put back to the 65 twin specs. It's a lower resistance than what was in it. Alrighty.
So what'll that do to the characteristic of the amp?
Blackface amp series, all of them ran, a lot less power. 85 was the maximum wattage on them. Good. Instead of 135. Alright, now this is our ground. Run all these as short as you can. You don't want to get them to where you might be in danger of being too short, but all the extra wire that you got hanging in there is noise.
So you just kind of pick a random spot on the board to ground it?
Well, this is a regular ground that they used before, so there was a wire grounded here before. It's got a little clip here that's underneath this piece of wire. So they just poured a bunch of solder in there and attached the wire to it. They did. That's exactly what they did. Sometimes you have to have a bigger solder iron when these are attached to the bottom of the chassis. It takes up the heat quickly.
It's like a drill, using like a powered drill to try to drill a hole through a chassis, and
yeah, it doesn't work.
Or with 12 voltage, just freaking blast right through it.
I'm gonna replace these wires that have been patched into. I don't know who did this. It's a very nasty looking job. I don't like it. I'm gonna replace these wires. It's been patched into 3 times here instead of putting a new wire on it. That's
jeez,
pretty shabby work, you know. We don't want anything coming loose when we get this thing working. All right.
go. Need to get all three of these in that hole before I fill it full of solder. There we go. All attached good. Check my connections. Make sure we got our bridge working right. Go. Exactly.
What are we looking for in the reading?
Okay, our power transformer is wired in.
Mojo tones wired in.
Yep. Now we got to mount an output transformer in here.
Mounting the output transformer.
Make sure I don't get in the way of bolting that back on.
Cap for the doghouse.
Okie dokie.
So what are we doing, Tuck?
I'm gonna have to drill some new holes to mount this transformer. The one that came out was about as big as this, so it's not bolting up right. You just have to
oh no, we gotta get the drill out. Great.
yeah, that's the fun stuff. We love drilling holes, don't we?
Here we go.
I got one hole bolts up. You can believe that? Guess I ought to just mark it and do it that way.
These tube sockets are rusty.
Yeah, this is an old amp. Alright.
You're really giving it a new life with these new transformers.
Oh yeah. It'll be a totally different amp. Not as powerful, but the tone will be splendid. this off until we're done with our wiring. Just wanted to make sure where to set the transformer so we didn't put it too close to the doghouse. So I guess we ought to use that big drill, shouldn't we?
Well, shit, I mean, we gotta be careful about what we're drilling into on the other side.
Yeah.
How's that gonna work?
I'm just gonna go barely get through it. It just has to have a hole this size like this, so that a screw, that a self-tapping type screw will work. I might ought to use that little drill so it doesn't go too hard through this thing.
Yep.
I might tear something up. That's pretty close.
What number is that?
Can't read it. Can you? As long as it'll make the right size holes, all we care. Good deal. Must have dulled that bit. Just want to get me another bit. I believe I've dulled this one.
Let's check it out. There we go.
Yeah.
All 4 holes.
Fun.
Hell yeah. Bolting in the output transformer.
Go.
She's bolted in.
Solid.
Running it through the chassis kind of entry point.
Yep. This is our secondary side, which will be the output to the actual speaker jack.
Primaries from the wall, secondaries to the speaker. Feeding these wires through from each side of the output transformer.
Okay.
Working on the output transformer. Just installed it. Early wiring everything. You got brown on a pot up there, or what's the brown on?
Brown goes to the 3rd pin of the output tube. Number 3 pin right here.
Oh, okay.
And then the blue goes right here on 3 pin on the center. This is your main power from the transformer. It goes to the pin number 3 of the output tubes. And then it starts dropping that voltage down when it gets to the smaller tubes.
Step by step.
Yep. Alright. Get this blue one in here. Oh shit. Hell's bells.
Hell's bells.
Put a new socket in here. Extra shit that we shouldn't have had to do.
Taking the whole socket out?
Yeah. Have to. I broke a pin off. These are old. Broke another one.
Damn.
Makes me think I probably should have replaced them all.
Okay, we're back. We just replaced the socket. You want to tell us what that was, Chuck?
Pain in the mind, you know what? They're old. Like I said, they're 45 years old, so these little pins, if you're not real careful, you'll snap them off like I did here. If you do that while you're working on one, don't worry about it. Just have some of these on hand because you will. We'll put this little one back in here. Starting out with pin number 3, coming off the blue line for these two tubes, brown for these two. That's our high voltage going to the output. Which socket are we on right now? This one right here. No, okay. Notice this socket's black and the rest of them are brown. I didn't have any of the brown type.
These are our 6.3 volt heaters. I want to put those on after I get these other wires soldered in place, so it's be a little easier. This old wiring is awful brittle. These old Silverface amps, you got to be careful with it.
Is that white wiring original with those CBS silver faces?
Yeah, it is. It's pretty heavy duty, but it's kind of hard to work with.
It's like spaghetti. They leave the green in the 65 Blackface. They had the cloth covered wire in them. These are the type that use plastic wire. I don't like it near as well as the type that you can just pull back. The cloth wire is easier to work with.
We got a ground wire that goes here on pin number 8. Don't forget to hook that up. That tube won't work. See right here? This tube has to have a ground. You notice each one's got a ground going to the chassis ground here. There we go. Okie dokie. Now I think all these have to be connected on the 65 unit. See here. Yep. Pin number 6, one that's got the 470 ohm resistor here. These all have to be connected for the new circuit. And you see right here it's not connected from this pin to this pin. So we're going to have to run a wire to connect these two. Clean this up a little bit, it's pretty nasty. take this resistor loose until I get this pin soldered in. I gotta put 2 wires in this. So, get that resistor out of my way. Alright, let me get another piece of wire. I gotta run from this one to this one.
Desoldering the white.
Yeah. I'm going to use some thinner wire. It's too hard to get that in. 2 pieces of that in there. Look at that socket and see if everything looks soldered good to you.
The black one?
Mm-hmm. Every pin's got a wire. Yeah, it's got a resistor here, see?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
See, that same pin as this. That's all that goes on that pin is that resistor. The voltage comes in on this pin back here behind it. Goes through that resistor and ends up here on pin 5. That's your bias. That minus voltage I was telling you about.
Mm-hmm.
That's your minus 52. Hits this pin right
It's
here.
on pin 3?
Yep. No, it's pin 5.
Oh.
Okay, looks like everything's connected. Now
Now we're just gonna strip out circuit, huh?
yeah, we need to hook up the secondary. Okie dokie. All we're gonna need on this is these 2 wires.
We're wiring up the output transformer. We just got the rectifier socket wired in, and Flex is finishing up on the other sockets. Maybe he's going to the primary or the secondary, right? Mm-hmm. Secondary. It's going to the output stage of secondary. That's got the edge waiting for his Blackface twin reverb. Remember the one you said that was in London, like here in London at a guitar shop? Fender put it out.
Oh, that's a bass breaker.
Bass breaker, yeah. Found one of those. Yeah.
How much?
400.
That ain't bad at all. Which one is it, do you know? They got a 30, a 15, and a 7.
Let's look it up.
There we go. Now that's the output of the transformer.
Okay, so that's where the speaker cables go.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder if I'm going to be able to repair amps at some point, just hanging out around here.
I don't know. You think?
It's possible. I mean, some basics at least. Once this output transformer's installed, could you, we fire up the amp?
No, we can't fire it up until we rewire the power supply. Alright, now, red. Enough of there.
Alright, what section are we looking at?
Right here, this is the output. The red is the hot, which goes to the standby switch.
Standby.
Right here.
There's a standby switch right down there.
It's right here.
We got it on the board. It's this guy.
So we got to run this to here. What a gong.
It's really needed some TLC.
Sure it is.
Kind of tone caps are those blue caps in there.
They're made by Mallory.
They look just as good as orange drops, if not better.
They're the same thing. They're just different color. I never do change out these blue ones. I can't tell a bit of difference in the sound of these and the orange ones.
Been talking about fantasy football for about 5 hours today. It's pretty hardcore football fan.
He stands there and walks back and forth like a fucking woman or something. Talk something about that shit all goddamn day. Drives me nuts.
I think it's just like me and the UFC. I could spout off about UFC for
days.
Yeah. If you're really into it, I mean, it's fun to talk about.
He does it every day. For hours and hours.
It's funny that someone on the receiving end can has that much time.
Yeah. They both of them got too much time on their hands.
How old are they?
I think he's 22.
Oh, that's okay then. That's he's 22. He's a young guy.
Yeah. Real young.
I mean, shit. I'd rather one of my
be doing that is talking about dope or something.
Yeah, really.
That's what I was talking about when I was his age.
Yeah, me too.
Alright, brother.
Alright. See the final work here. Can you point to the final?
Yeah, this is the standby switch. Goes to the power the output transformer. That voltage comes back out this blue wire and this brown wire to send the power to the tubes. That's where they get their 500 volts. And then it steps down after it comes this way, this first tube.
that the first 12-amp Fender right there?
Yeah.
What are the other ones?
This is actually the last one.
Oh, the last
First one is here before the signal comes in. First one.
Oh, okay. So it goes
This one works the first channel, this channel.
V1, V2, V3, V4, V5, V6.
Yeah. And then outputs.
606s and then the rectifier at the end.
No, this don't have a rectifier. This has loads. 2 on one side and 2 on the other side. The signal. So it's like this. One side does the top, the other side does the bottom.
Yeah, we've talked about that in some of the other videos.
So our next video will be wiring the tone circuit. This will be this board right here. We'll start at this end and we'll make it exactly like a 65 instead of a 76. It'll drastically change the tone of it. And we'll be done. Cool. That's the expensive part we've done so far, changing both of these transformers. The easy part is actually changing out the small stuff that we'll do in our next video.
Sounds good.